welcome to Slayerfest 98. I'm Ian Carlos Crawford.
And I am Nicholas Walker.
And then me, I'm Brett White.
And I'm Ryan Houlihan, and we are here to discuss the Buffy Season 3 episode, Anne, for its 25th anniversary!
Yeah, my bones are dust, much like a vampire's.
One of my students the other day said in class, "Oh, I'm really old. I'm 20." And I was like, please don't say that.
I will
Here's
shut
a wake
this
up
whole
call.
school down.
Everyone gets an F. I guess, how did we feel revisiting this episode? I don't know. This is an episode I do revisit like this. So for me, I'm just like, yeah, this is the episode that I love. I don't really know why, but this time around, the whole like Chanterelle, Lily, Anne of it all, like, I don't know, it really was like getting me.
Like in an emotional way?
Yeah, I was just like, man, this is so, like, because we discussed her on Angel recently because she, popped up, and I'm just like, man, her development is wild, and I love that it's like, so it doesn't matter if you notice her or not. Like, it's fine if you don't, but if you do, it's like so good, right?
She's the Blood Money episode, right?
Yeah, she's in.
Yeah, It'll Wash. Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, where
Yeah.
like her.
And Angel, yeah.
Yeah, and the finale of Angel 2. She comes back and goes to see her. Yeah.
Love her. Love this actress. Love this episode. Gets me every time. Every time I watch it, it's both more and less. Like, they do so much more with less time than I think that they have in this episode every time.
Yes. Nick?
I love this episode. I think that this is the first well, maybe not the first, but this episode to me really showcases what Buffy is capable of, like as a show, versus just, being in the library and in the graveyard. So it expands the scope much more, which I really liked. And it has one of my favorite fuck yeah moments, like empowering moments, when she is, I'm Buffy, the Vampire Slayer, and you are, it's everything to me. I get so pumped every single time I see it.
And her like shit-eating grin when she says it too, like, so good. Brett?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's exactly why when you send out an email of like, what season 3 episodes are people interested in, that moment of just Buffy, the Vampire Slayer. But I love how it's kind of a recurring theme in like season premieres of Buffy are always like, she's going up against people who do not know her and underestimate her. Because we get that again in season 4 with Sunday and all those vampires. But I really love this one because she's in such a weird, bad place. and I just, man. Oh, and like you were saying about how it does so much, like, as someone that watched a couple of seasons of Arrowverse shows that were like so clearly, the grandchild of Buffy or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, man, those shows, they hung out in labs and then they went to warehouses and that is it. And, and the fact that like this, there's the shot where Buffy, when she's like, the uprising is rising, honey, and she's running and the camera's like going along with it, that long tracking shot through that entire like industrial warehouse as she's beating up all. It's like, this is huge. It's great.
Yeah. They make so much out of the parts, and I think it doesn't take place in Sunnydale, and she doesn't have like the story doesn't have any of our existing characters to lean on. It just does what it has to do. It's great. It really is masterful.
It makes me think that this is a whole different show. Like there is another version of this show if it was made like 20 years earlier, where it's like the Incredible Hulk, but it's Buffy. Yeah. And she's just going from like hopeless situation to hopeless situation and freeing people from.
That's what I wanted for the Faith spinoffs. Yeah. Faith and Spike on bikes.
Yeah.
Cross country.
I'm still forever bitter that we didn't get that Faith show, because I do think you're right, Brett. This showed you that it could work. Like that format would work. And I'm not even that big of a fan of that kind of format because I love an ensemble, but like it really does work, right? Like, and I think it's a lot. I mean, as we all often say, a lot of it is credit to Sarah Michelle Gellar. Like she can carry a scene, so well.
Oh my God. I mean, she makes other actors look so talented, and I'm not saying that they're not. It's just it can't be coincidental that everyone she shares a scene with has their best moments with her. Like she must just be a really great actor to like work with. Like I mean that in the sense of like I've worked with actors who are not great and actors who are really great, and it's like when I worked this is not me name dropping, this is me making a really flattering comparison. When we worked with Martin Short I remember thinking, like, every single person is so lucky for the few minutes they get to do with him because it'll go right in their reel. Like, everyone looks so in the moment and so, like, and I feel that way with her acting. It's like she really, like, makes the show. And again, I don't think that this format of, like, being in another city without any of our existing characters would work if it wasn't for her.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, I mean, Ryan, you and Nick both have been covering Angel. Like, that's why early season Angel doesn't really work, right? Because it's David Boreanaz by himself with new characters every time.
Yeah.
And
David's great. We love David.
Yes,
we love David. This is not an anti-David podcast. However, Sarah Michelle Gellar is on a level that it's not fair to compare.
Yes.
Let's say that.
Let's
say
say
Sarah Michelle Gellar went on Dancing with the Stars. She would have won.
Well, she was on Dancing with the Stars last season, sitting in the audience cheering on Selma Blair,
making me cry.
And she was the one that I wanted to watch.
Yeah. Well, and I think like this episode's such a really good encapsulation of her acting prowess. I mean, did she get a Golden Globe nom for this episode? I don't think so, right? No. But just like in terms of if you're coming into this episode cold, she immediately sells you on all of the pain of the season 2 finale and, you know, the previous 2 seasons of pain just through like how she is taking orders at a really, really bad diner.
Yeah.
Really bad decor. I mean, leaving a 1-star review.
Helen's kitchen. Leave Helen alone.
I also want to point out that I like that we see Willow. I feel like the end of season 2 into this is when Willow starts to come into her own. So I really like that the opening is like a fake out that you think it's Buffy going to fight a vampire, but it's Willow saying, "Come and get it, big boy." Like, I really love that. Right?
I love the opening. I love
so good.
I love any time that it's just like the Scoobies just trying to carry on without her. Like I think about the season 6 premiere a lot, where it's just when Tara and Anya are bonding over the fact that, you know, their significant others are like, I just love that stuff. And so like having this, like Oz getting that really badass moment now in the opening credits, Oz of like getting out that steak and then throwing it. And then the bounce it does off of that tombstone is spectacular. Like almost like they did it 100 times until they got the perfect bounce and arc of that bounce. It is so good.
They had to have. It was as if Pixar had animated a wooden steak. It was delightful.
Just so comically, it's just such a comically huge bounce.
Yes.
Just nowhere. It's so good.
The like build up music to him throwing it. I like that is shit that like Buffy does so well that I think you mentioned, Brett, like the Arrowverse shows that no hate, peace and love, but they're not for me. That like I feel like they try to get, but Buffy like. Charm tried to do it too, and they didn't like the like, ooh, we're gonna pretend and then lead to a gag. But because Buffy, they like play it straight and don't play a like wah wah music. It like works.
Yeah.
They let the thing be funny. They're not scared that it's not funny. Like, I mean, it's sort of like when you watch some sitcoms, Seinfeld was great because they would just let things be funny. Yeah. And not that I just like the show because it's a different show, totally. And it has strengths that Seinfeld does not. But when you watch the seasons of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, they never for a moment let you laugh before the audience is like completely losing their mind in the recording or whatever. And it is annoying. And I think when it comes to a show like this, especially an action adventure show, if you can't make an action adventure scene really sell and like to the point that pulling back for the contrast would be funny, maybe we don't need the joke. Maybe that's not a great joke for us to do, Alyssa Milano. I don't know. Well, notice I didn't bring up Charmed this time, by the way.
I know, it was me.
I think you can kind of see that in the Oz and Willow interaction that has stuck with me my entire life of just the like, yeah, remember how I was like failing all those, you know, but you were going to go to school. Yeah. Remember how I didn't go? And it's, you can see a lesser show, being like, man, hey Seth, can you punch that just a little harder? But they just trust that like Seth Green's delivery as Oz is a deadpan character. You do not have to the joke is funny. Oz saying the joke is funny and Willow's response to it is funny. We do not have to, you know, oversell it.
He feels subtly indispensable, even though I know he leaves the show, and I don't understand how they maneuvered things for me to like the cup game where you put like what is it, something under a cup and a shell game. It's like that. They did that with his character so that I wouldn't notice he was gone. But in some of these scenes, I'm like, this scene actually might have read as more nothing or annoying if he wasn't here to like nail some of these lines and like the delivery. He's so good. And the chemistry with Allison Hannigan is so delightful. It's like back in full force. And I think, like you said, we have all these season premieres. I mean, there's a lot. I was sitting here thinking about it after you said this, but that it's always about reminding Buffy, the audience, who Buffy is, and reminding Buffy who she is, and someone not knowing who she is and finding the fuck out. And I think they do a good job of also reminding us who everyone else is, right? Like we get Willow and Oz giving us really clear versions of themselves. The Xander and Cordelia, which we will get to, like Giles and Joyce, like all the dynamics are really established well up front without fucking up the Buffy pacing of her story.
Yeah. I think, like, you know, when Buffy vs. Dracula just turned 25 too, and I rewatched it. And like in that, he knows who she is, but it is him reminding, it's like he's reminding her of who she is almost, but then she kicks the shit out of him, right? Like, so it really is, that's how these like premieres always start. But yeah, so Nick, what do you think of this opening?
I love the opening. I do love the stake bouncing off of the grave moment, but there's certain times where Allison Hannigan's acting, like, it's so subtle, the nuances that she has with her face, but like when the vampire first like gets to his feet and then the camera cuts back to her face, she has just like this momentary look of like, oh well, maybe I fucked up a little bit. And it lives rent free in my head. I love it. I love those little tiny subtle moments to the point that you guys were talking about, where it's not like, it doesn't feel like they're coming to them behind the scenes and going, we need you to add a little bit more to this so that it plays better as a joke. I feel like the writing does the work and then the actors are just allowed to play it naturally. And I think that that's what makes it shine.
She does a unique way of not telegraphing, communicating self-doubt extremely subtly, even the nuances of like, I don't like when Willow's in denial of her own self-doubt, or when Willow's covering up her self-doubt or whatever, and it gives the character like this vulnerability that, like, no offense to Riff Regan, I don't think a lot of other people could have done. And I think that's why things like the music and everything really do come together, because if you read a script that's really great and you look back at the dailies and they're really good, like, everyone wants to bring the sauce to that. You know what I mean? You show up and you do a great job when everyone else is showing up and doing a great job. And you can already see that in the opening. And it is a reminder, too, of why this is my favorite season, because everything just sings so well.
Yeah. I think the moment that the opening credits go and you see Seth Green in the opening credits, like, I keep thinking about how it is almost like Seth Green and therefore kind of Oz's involvement in this season adds a weird fourth wall breaking seal of approval almost to the show. Because I remember being because I watched this when it aired, and Seth Green was like the coolest dude, you know, like he was just like the coolest. And like the fact that he was like, oh my God, he's on Buffy. Like, he's on this show on the WB that all my friends make fun of me for watching, you know? But then I think that he also brings that to Oz. And it is like, I've never really thought about Oz this deeply, I guess. But there is something to like the fact that he is all in on the hunting of vampires and he's throwing stakes and stuff. And I don't know, it adds stakes. There's like a lot more buy-in, I guess. Just because Oz, I think, in season 2, you see, like, he could take or leave any of this. Like, he's here for Willow. Like, you know, with her goes my world, or that's whatever that quote was. It's like the fact that he's on board, I think, adds undergirds. That's a word. a lot of the drama.
Don't look at my undergirds.
I mean, I always say, like, the reason I feel like I very much started to get into the show, which was during season 3, was because Oz and Faith, like, they were so cool to me, and they still fucking are at 40 cool to me. But like, teen me was like, I want to, I mean, I would say I wanted to be Oz and wanted to date Faith. It was switched, but I still wanted to be both of them, kind of.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and I feel like,
Totally.
especially for those of us of a certain age, like, even though I still consider Oz cool, like right, Brett? Like, you're not joking. He was so cool back then, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was fucking Little Evil. God, Scott Evil. Like, Little Evil. And what was Can't Hardly Wait? Can't Hardly Wait was 99. So that's like at
this.
the end
Yeah.
of it. Yeah. Like, so I mean, like, this is like, he was just that episode of X-Files, you know? Like, he's just the coolest.
Plus, like, he's like effortlessly cool.
Yes.
In Buffy.
Yeah.
That really is,
which is like bringing up Can't Hardly Wait. Like the characters are so completely opposite.
Yes,
and I love that in Buffy they point that out several times that Oz like barely even talks. He's very what did they call him, monosyllabic or something like that?
Yeah.
Saying that he's never really talking, doesn't really care all that much. In the episode in this season, Earshot, when they're listening into his head, he's just completely in another world.
Yeah,
but he's still cool.
He it's a confident choice by an actor to play it like this on this kind of show where everyone else is not.
Yeah.
He has such a different energy, and I think that is why he slides in so well. I mean,
I
like,
bet he does.
Yeah.
All my dreams are coming true. But yeah, I really appreciate this Oz Love Fest, because when we did cover season 3 500 years ago, for the first time, I felt like I was the one being like, oh, but Oz, and everyone would be like, yeah, all right, Ian, he's okay. But I do think also I don't always think of, Seth Green the way we think of Sarah Michelle Gellar, but it is a credit to his acting that Oz, like, he pulls it off, and that is very much not how he is. He is like ADD, hyper nerdy kid, nonstop talking, and Oz is
on beta blockers.
And also, like, Oz is the first new addition to the Scoobies since Jenny Calendar, right? Like,
yeah.
So, like, it is interesting to see, like, I don't know, like, and, being an X-Men comic book fan, I was always into the like, ooh, Rogue's a member now, that Jubilee's is on the big leagues, like that kind of thing. So seeing, like, Oz really step into being a full-time Scooby is really cool.
And I love watching, I mean, we got to get out of this scene and get back to the high school, but I love watching these scenes where Buffy's gone and everybody has to work together. I just think it's so fun, and it reminds us how good Buffy is at her job. And
they spent this entire episode trying to go after one guy who unexpectedly, they're like, wait a second, wasn't he on the, like, gymnast team? Something. It's like, that's not fair.
They had not accounted that he could do a backflip, and it threw their whole plan into chaos.
So yes, what is it that Xander then calls her on, saying, come and get it, big boy, and Oz is like, I recommend this time it's personal. Xander says he can't wait to see Cordelia, which I feel like is all of us watching this episode, all the gays watching is like,
that's me all the damn time.
True. We cut to Buffy on the beach with Angel. I always appreciate the, like, well, we killed that character, but you all know they're not leaving the show because they're still in the credits, so we'll put them in a bunch of dream scenes until they come back.
I love giving people a paycheck. I think it's
what's
great.
Contractual obligation. David Boreanaz is not recurring. He is 22 episodes, damn it.
You know what? That's funny. Ryan, I don't remember if it was with you, when we were talking about, I think it might have been Kate in Angel season 1, and Summer Bishop was like, she's in this episode because she got a 13-episode order. That's why she's in this episode.
I know. And it's usually me playing producer, and then you have a real actor who's done, like, real negotiations, and it's like, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, this is not like a what-if scenario. She can feel it.
So we see Buffy's dream, and then she wakes up, and I really like this, like, pan. I like that when she wakes up, she just kind of is, like, depressed, and we pan across, like, LA with a cop car driving by with the sirens on, and, like, it just stays on it, and it doesn't, there's no, like, jokey beat. It's just like, yeah, Buffy's depressed.
Yeah,
she is.
and it plays so well with apparently what the writing staff of the Buffyverse feels about the city of Los Angeles. They fucking hate LA. And you know what? I agree. I'm not going to say they're wrong. I'm saying, like, they really wanted to make it. They were here to make it clear. that they hate LA, to the degree that a lot of people from LA have told me that while watching the show, they thought it was New York. Like they just assumed she was in New York. And I wanted to be like, no, Buffy in New York would be a delightful romp. This is Buffy in like the Valley or something. Go fuck yourself. But yeah, it's really depressing. We get to this depressing diner, and it's on that LA street where Angel's foes always get murdered.
Yeah.
Is one of these shots in the opening credits of Angel? There's like a shot of like a woman on like a street that looks like
Yeah. Yep.
Huh.
Interesting.
It's during the little montage, I believe.
Yeah.
The like weird Sarah McLachlan almost like montage of like, except for dogs, it's people.
Oh my God. What's funny though is that you know that they probably just went to their B-roll library at Fox and just pulled a bunch of LA stuff, and they really liked that shot both times and didn't realize, in the way that most episodes of Charmed use the same like panning over the city shot. And after watching it with my husband, we came to the conclusion that it was just the best shot. And every week they were like, well, we really like that hero shot. So it's always going over the same building. And I kind of think it's maybe like that. But I don't think it actually works to establish it as LA. Like I had no idea that this was LA except for Googling it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so wait, on that, Nick, you might have. Did anyone here watch Ash versus the Evil Dead?
I watched the first season.
Okay, yeah, it's fine. It's the second season, isn't it? Or is Samara Weaving in the first season? Did you see her in it?
Nick? I think she might be, because I didn't really like know who she was until Ready or Not, so I don't really remember her from Ash versus Evil Dead. But I think it's either the end of the first season or beginning of the second. It's
the end of one of the seasons, but she plays like random, like they encounter these like college kids that are in the woods. She survives the longest, but they all die. But because they, and this was before she was big, but we all know that Samara Weaving can scream. They have her scream like
the yodel.
Yeah, she screams like 4 times an episode. And then that is the exact scream they use every time someone screams on that show. And I'm sure it's because no one screams as good as Samara Weaving, but it's so recognizable that like, if you hear a monster and there's like a crowd screaming, it's Samara Weaving screaming. They reuse that scream every time.
I hope she gets a check every time. I truly do.
She should.
Speaking of, by the way, we'll get to it, but what an apropos episode for having just ended the WGA strike and getting a deal. What a great episode to land on for that. And we wish the actors luck.
It really is a perfect episode for that.
Yeah.
So yes, we're 20 minutes in and we're not even post credits yet. I love this.
It's always the way.
So then post credits, we see Buffy's working at this diner. And are any of you Twin Peaks gals? I can't remember.
Mm-mm.
Oh, I am.
Doesn't this feel very like on purposey Twin Peaks?
Yeah, but I didn't put that together. But it does.
Right.
And it has kind of the same eerie quietness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I like was looking to see if there was anything like, oh yeah, like, Joss said Twin Peaks or whatever, but I couldn't find anything. But it feels like that could be on purpose, or it could just be like they're trying to find like depressed diner and give her that like outfit that they wore. I don't know. But that's what I kept
it was
thinking
also something that I think at this point has just so saturated the culture that people don't know that it's in reference to that.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of Simpsons stuff, people are like, oh, that old, story that everyone does. And it's like, well, it aired in 1998. I can tell you the episode. I think it does a really great job. And I think it does a good job of showing us the exact environment Buffy would hate working in.
Yes.
Like I can't imagine a less Buffy job than this specific diner.
Like Double Meat Palace is probably better than this job.
Yeah, it probably is.
Yeah.
I don't know. Double Meat Palace creeps me the hell out. That to me feels more like Twin Peaksy because I just feel uncomfortable and gross the whole time I'm watching it. Ugh.
But I
heard the burgers were good.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I would totally eat one of those burgers. Maybe not if it was made of cat.
Probably not. Unless I didn't know.
Probably not.
So we see the like grimy trucker dude slap her on the ass, which like is an indignity that I always get upset, and I'm like, oh no, Buffy, just like wait till he leaves, then kick his fucking ass. I know you want to be low key about it.
Every time I watch this episode, if you guys are fans of Charlie's Angels Full Throttle,
who isn't? Who alive isn't?
Thank you.
This is the target audience.
Drew Barrymore gets smacked on the ass And then she doesn't hit the guy at first, but then when she gets her like little confidence boost back at the end, and then she throws him into the jukebox. Every time I'm watching this, I'm like, please, for the love of God, just add an additional scene that I never saw in where she beats the shit out of this guy. I need it.
Right.
That's what we need AI for. This is what we need AI for, to make that for me.
It's like when I was watching Scream 2 for the first time in theaters, and I'm like, why is she not beating the shit out of him? This is Buffy. Like, what the hell?
I say this all the time on My Bloody Judy. I was tricked both Scream 2 and Know You Did Last Summer. I remember I wasn't even that into Buffy yet. And I was like, well, she can't die. She's Buffy. Well,
it's a feeling that will stay with me through all. Like when I watch The Grudge, I'm like, you need to get the books out, bitch. We need to research, Mama. Let's research.
Paul Giles, like, what are you doing? Which is funny. Also, I've been like setting up my father gifted me the spare bedroom as like my recording studio / office. My best friend Kevin has been here. We've been setting it up. We took a break to eat pizza and watch Scream 2, and my dad came in the room and was like, oh, you guys watching Buffy? And I was like, close. Scream 2.
Yeah. You've got the general idea.
Yeah, you're close.
Wait, before we leave Hell's Kitchen, or before we leave Helen's Kitchen, I would like to point out that, is it Hell Ann's Kitchen? Is that the joke I'm supposed to be taking away? Or is it just a play on Hell's Kitchen, the name of the place? It had to be selected for a reason. Like, they had the prop department make a sign.
Huh. I don't know.
I don't even think I've ever noticed the sign.
Yeah.
They lingered on it.
I do remember there being an outside shot, but I also, to be fair, was eating while I was watching this, so...
Wow.
Well, apparently not. And so
Ryan's
we leave the diner, and I take a breath mint.
She meets Lily and Ricky, which at first I was like, wait, does she? And then it was like, oh, she does recognize her. That's why she leaves.
Which they were in. It's a season 2 episode that I just never rewatched.
Yeah.
Which one was it? It was
she's in Lie to Me. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm just like, no, I'm fine.
I like her, and I do like her in that episode.
Yes.
But it is a weird person to bring back. It works amazingly. Like, fuck me for not having thought of it. But it's interesting. I guess they just must have really liked this actress, as do I.
Yeah, I did interview her once at WhedonCon, now Hellmouth Con. She's very nice, very chill. She was so soft-spoken that I had trouble putting up the volume. She's just like this very chill, like blonde lady in LA, just like very like, oh yeah, I liked it. And she, if I recall, and someone can probably listen and misquote me, I know she auditioned for the show for something else, and she got called to ask to come in and audition for Lie to Me, got the part, and then they called her back for this. Like
she's a good character. I mean, she's kind of, they would have probably created a character just like her for this episode, because that arc makes total sense of like, this is the kind of person that would definitely just be in like this part of LA. Like, it is kind of like, I mean, it's kind of like, Angel moving to LA and like all of a sudden Cordelia's his best friend.
Right.
Hey, sometimes you move places and you're different,
Yeah. Just think strange. Now her and Ricky have the ugliest tattoos.
Oh my God. My first thought was like, you're like 10 years away from a laser being able to take that off.
I thought, I was like, we don't see that on her in Angel, so I wonder.
Oof. She must have gotten it removed.
Enchantment. There's probably like a demon that, removes tattoos with magic.
If they reboot Buffy and I don't get to play some kind of demonic like esthetician, I'm going to lose my mind. I want to be a witch that does facials. Ah!
Yes.
Demonic esthetician. Ryan, I just love you. But so they have the same tattoos that Nick and I have on our arms with each other's names.
That's right.
And she kind of recognizes Buffy, but she's like, do I know you? She's not sure. Then we cut to Sunnydale High, which is...
Oh, wait.
Oh, yeah.
I always like to point this out because I feel like they only, it's like a rarity when they use it, but like we get another example of her prophetic dreams. Because the quote that Angel says to her about it being forever, Lily says it to her.
Right.
I always feel like that. I'm like, that's the powers that be sending her a vision.
And it makes me wonder how like we don't see these premonitions past like this season, or not much. And it makes me wonder how many weird dreams Buffy has that she's like, oh, what if an army of hamburglers is rising? Or something?
Exactly.
What if I'm upside down underwater this week?
What if I do go to school naked? Oh God.
Yeah, exactly. I say do it. What a slay. Cordelia will never top that.
So speaking of Cordelia, we see, which I do think is very cute, that I'm very charmed by, I don't love them together. It's like, fine, they're just like teenagers, but I'm very charmed by this aspect of Cordelia being nervous for like fucking Xander. To show like, to reference one of my favorite essays about like having a crush by Sloane Crosley. I can't remember the name of it, but she wrote a piece that was all about how humiliating it is to have a crush because like you feel stupid. Sometimes you say stupid shit. And it's
called Love is Embarrassing by Olivia Rodrigo.
But like, it's humanizing to see like our queen Cordy be like nervous about the guy that she's seeing. Right.
Well, even to the point where she's annoying Willow.
Yes.
It's like a total reversal of softer side of Sears.
It really is. You're right. I didn't even think about that.
And it's funny because Willow was so like love struck by Xander and is now she's met Oz and she's like, oh, I've graduated to another level. Meanwhile, Cordelia's like, Xander. She's like, both of them, you can feel the energy coming off of them for each other. And it is a really good way to remind me that I do like them as a couple.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I wish I know that this show just loves to do that, but I almost wish they were able to have like an amicable breakup, not like her and Oz walking in on them kissing, like.
Well, and then her impaling herself.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
Jesus
just not
Christ.
a nice breakup,
Yeah.
And then
Not how you want to leave
funeral.
town.
A funeral cut is so mean.
What I love is so good.
I loved that cut so much.
good.
When, Ian, as you know, like I'm having David watch the show for the first time, and Cordelia is quite possibly her and Spike are his favorite characters. And when we were going through season 3, we're sitting on the couch. He's watching that episode. Lover's Walk or whatever. Yeah. And I'm just waiting. I was like, there's going to be a death this season, just fucking with him. And then I'm just looking at him as he's looking at the screen. And as soon as it cuts to the funeral, you could practically see the tears welling up in his eyes. Oh my God. I was so like emotionally hard in that moment.
Yes, Nick and I were texting about this, how we both love watching someone else watch Buffy for the first time.
Oh yeah.
Right? I feel like...
Oh yeah, especially the darker moments. Like I'll just go back and I'm like, well, let's just look at a reaction of somebody as the bullet goes through Tara's chest.
I love watching people watch Hush because you can tell that they're like, oh, we're having fun at the TV show. Boop, 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 boop. I'm a little creeped out.
That's what I liked about like watching the opening. I love the Buffy opening credits. Are the best. And like they do such a good job. Maybe it's like all the edits and additions for season 3 of just being like, fuck, they've done so much stuff already. Like,
I know.
Like, and it's like wild to think again, this fucking Arrowverse shows.
I know.
But it's just like Buffy had so many huge, big moments in just the first 2 seasons, which is really 1.5 seasons. Like, that's just nuts.
Okay.
I mean, as Kim Petras once said, everything I drop is a banger.
Yeah.
They have 22 episodes a season, and people joke about the 1 or 2 that they don't like, or that like collectively people don't like, because they stick out so much. How that is so hard.
You go back and watch them and you're gonna laugh at something, and there's gonna be at least one cool fight move or something.
Yes.
Yeah, we famously disagree about Beer Bad, and I still will totally watch that episode right now. It's great.
I love Beer Bad. It's amazing to me. That and what is it? Is it Where the Wild Things Are?
Yes.
I love that episode too.
I referenced this 85 times in the last like 3 months, I feel like, but someone unfollowed me on social media because that was the episode I asked them to be on for.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. Okay, so they're iconic. I need that
So the only reason I know that is because then someone joked on Twitter. It was like, do you wish that like people could tell you why they unfollowed like you? And I expanded it. And that person said, I unfollowed someone because they asked me on their podcast for the worst episode of Buffy in season 4 where the wild things
Nessie.
And if that was true,
Nessie.
baby, you go up and you take your swings when you get them. You go up there and you make that the funniest, meanest episode of this podcast ever. Don't tell on yourself that you can't make lemonade. Do not tell on yourself. God. All right. Well, moving on. I'm mad now.
And but I agree that like even an episode that like is lesser, it still has parts to like. Like Killed by Death is, I think, my least favorite episode of the show, but it has my favorite Cordelia line where she's like, Tex is not saying true things. I'll pass. Like, who can say like, oh, the episode I hate the most has one of my favorite lines? Like, not many shows have that, but I feel like maybe, and all of these episodes, even if you don't like it, there's something to like. Brett, when you just went, I was, total side note, because I'm at my new desk area, I put in one of my frames, the picture, which Nick, I wish you had been a co-host at this for my birthday of all me and the Slayerfest co-hosts. And I looked at you when you made that noise, Brett. So I'm looking at you and Ryan right now. But where the fuck are we?
Well, that Sunnydale scene has such a great one tracking shot, and it keeps like weaving in and out of like all the, like, it's very much like first day of school. Here's all the supporting cast, and it's the Willow and Oz like conversation about him repeating a grade is like, oh my God, I'm going back to like UCB. And it's like a herald, and that is one beat. You see 3 beats of it, but in between you get like Larry talking about like, we're going to be so great if we don't have as many unexpected deaths.
If there aren't so many mysterious deaths this year, we're definitely winning nationals.
Yes, good.
Oh, you gay piece of crap.
And so then we see that then Xander sees her and is like talking about how he's nervous. And I, like y'all mentioned, I like that Willow's annoyed. Like she's like, yeah, your hair's fine. Like go away. Then we cut back to Buffy. She sees a woman on the street yelling, I'm no one, which I was like, oh, this reminds me of like, they definitely reuse. I say this a lot. This show does this, and I'm the best way. This is my favorite show. I don't care that they do this. I'm not saying it's a negative, but sometimes it feels like they were like, oh, I like that little thing we did. Let's do that again, but bigger. And then they went with that to season 5 of like the people Glory had brain sucked.
Yeah, this show really likes to use houseless people for a creep factor that I am uncomfortable with in 2023, but do understand why it was done. And it does make sense specifically for a communism episode. But I don't know. I do wonder about like, if you were Buffy and someone was just like crazy and seemingly houseless, I don't know. I feel like I'd be like, are you okay? Like, what are they going to do to you? What's going to happen? Just go up and ask. Like,
right. You get hit by a car and you're fine.
Yeah.
Right.
She does help that guy. So,
yeah,
but you know, she always takes the moment of glory when it's going to get everyone's attention.
Another reason she's a gay icon.
One of the parts of the scene that I really, really like, which kind of echoes the opening where it cuts to her when she wakes up from the dream, is I like that there are several moments in this episode that when it cuts to Buffy, it completely goes silent.
Yes.
And that, I don't even know how to put it into words. You feel exactly what she is feeling.
Yeah.
Just alone. I love it so much.
Yeah.
She's such
the
a
sound design is amazing.
character. So seeing Buffy be this quiet and like mumbly and just kind of like out of it is like, girl, same. This is exactly
because they really they cover. I think one of the reasons that I like connect with this episode is they don't portray the loss of a loved one as just you sitting there crying.
Yeah,
like we had her crying a bunch in season 2, whereas this is just dealing with the emptiness that comes afterwards.
She is so bad at grieving, I have to say, and it's not something you should get good at. I don't recommend it, but she like has frozen herself in the worst part of grief for as long as possible as self-punishment or something. But I do like that she's so soft-spoken and subdued and kind of anxious in every scene, because we did get this call out that like nobody can quip quite like the Buffster. And then when we see her, she has no quips. There are no quips to be found. Yeah. She's quipless. And then it takes, the course of the episode for us to get a really powerful quip, and then we're back in business. But
yeah, baby.
you know, I think that these scenes also work because the actress who plays Lily is so warm and you just want to protect her like a baby deer. And so Buffy's complete coldness plays really
And all
well.
she wants to do is go to that rave. She just wants Buffy to go party with her.
Same.
Yeah, it's us running into Buffy on the street. And
Buffy offering her money, offering her mutual aid support. I caught that. I caught that, left-wingers.
And like I like this whole interaction because I do like that Buffy is un-Buffy-like, but it's still Sarah Michelle Gellar is so good at selling it that it's like, yeah, this is Buffy depressed, right? Like this is how when she's like, no, I don't really, no, I can give you money though. Like I just don't want to be in a crowd. And she isn't like Lily / Anne takes it as like a little bit like she's being shitty, but she's not. She just genuinely doesn't want to be around people, right? Like,
yeah.
She's just like...
I mean, to be fair, the way that Lily asks her for the money does come across like she's, hey, can you pay my way?
It does. So then, but I do like that also we see that Lily is also being kind to her when she's like, oh, I'm not going to tell anyone. I understand. Like, you know, I've jumped from place to place. I know what that's like. So you're cool. Like, we're good. I'm not throwing you under the bus here. And then that the man walks through them, almost gets hit by a car. Buffy fully gets hit by a car, and runs away and runs into Ken, who was the pool boy on Seinfeld and the new husband in the Angel episode Bachelor Party.
Yeah, I knew he came back and I couldn't remember when.
Tom Lank has told me that the rule was you were allowed to come back if it was different prosthetics that covered your face.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it feels like, but also then it's like, but it's still his face, right? Like,
yeah, I think the woman.
Well, yeah, because he switches into him.
Yeah,
like the human form.
Yeah.
So it's the same guy.
The woman who plays the woman at the blood bank also, I believe, has had a few roles on the show.
Okay, that makes sense. She did look a little familiar. So then we get the weird montage of sadness that is not Sarah McLachlan, but sounds like it could be Sarah McLachlan.
Yeah, but then it goes to the Bronze, and it's just like depressing music night at the Bronze. Which I'm glad they pointed that out, because I was like, God, this is a horrible night to go to the Bronze.
Yes.
It also cuts to, like, during the montage, there's a bald guy, and if this would have come out this year, you could not convince me otherwise that is not Trixie out of drag.
Yeah, especially now, like getting all like fit, etc.
Yeah,
exactly.
Losing the weight.
But so I want to talk about the next scene at the Summers house. Giles goes to visit Joyce because he had, his 9th lead or his 10th lead or whatever that led to nothing.
Oakland vampire. It's just teens in mascara listening to awful music or something. Weird music.
He went to the first Hot Topic opening and he was like, no, this wasn't, I said a hellmouth.
So I was reminded of my mother because my mom, when we did our like recordings together for like the Patreon that we did, she would be like, I do not like that mother. That mother did not support her daughter. And this made me, I forgot this scene. I fully forgot about until I watched it. And I was like, I put in my notes, oh, Joyce is upset. Good, because she should be. She fucking kicked her out. And then she blames Giles, and I'm like, hey, fuck you.
The audacity.
Right?
No, I mean, the audacity of her is saying that, but but for us, we have the context. I do understand. I feel it's a justified emotional response to have, but I think after his 9th flight to find your daughter,
right,
you have to have processed that. You have
and
to
also like what?
3
months have passed?
Yes.
Like, have you not gotten any more illumination on what that relationship was in the past 3 months?
Like mother, like daughter, they've both frozen themselves emotionally in the moment of weeping.
That's a good point. Because I know people feel strongly about Joyce. I don't hate her, but I know some people do. Some people think she's great. I kind of feel like it's Buffy's mother, which is how I feel about when people argue about boyfriends. I'm like, I love them when Buffy loves them, even if they're fucking annoying me, because I love Buffy.
Well, and it's also great that Buffy doesn't have a perfect mom. Like she has a real mom.
Yes. Yeah.
She drinks schnapps.
We'll see it next episode. Nick, I need to know what you think about this with Joyce blaming Giles.
So I know that to your point, like a lot of people complain about Joyce's behaviors up until probably season 4.
Mm.
When it comes to her, I try to put myself in her shoes. She literally just learned about this as a vampire jumped out in front of her and she watched it get staked by Buffy. Like, and then Buffy, she gets into an argument with her and then Buffy takes off and then she is gone for 3 months. And I tried to think about what it was like from Joyce's perspective up until this point with Buffy getting into fights. I mean, Buffy points it out to her, like, how many times did you wash blood out of my clothes? So I could imagine that going through a divorce, moving to a new town and having to this big ass house and having to support your daughter and all of this stuff.
Finding out that hot piece of ass John Ritter is a robot.
Exactly. Oh. So I get it. I get where she's coming from. And I think it would be one thing if she had gotten into the argument with Buffy. Buffy left the house, fought Angel, whatever. And then there was more drama that happened before Buffy left. But it's like all of this was dropped into Joyce's lap immediately. And then her daughter is just gone for 3 months. So I feel like, while I understand what you guys are saying in regards to like how many times Giles has gotten on a flight trying to find her, like I get it, but I also understand Joyce's point of view of having that resentment for being who is supposed to be the most important person in Buffy's life, and she was the one person that was kept in the dark about everything.
Yeah. And I wonder, like, I don't think any of the Scoobies are coming over there and being like, okay, so where were we last time? We were talking about vampires and werewolves. Okay, so werewolves, like, no one, is anyone filling her in?
That's
the
true.
Internet is not, like,
true.
really around and reliable. Like, did Joyce just find out vampires are real and they just have to sit on that alone for 3 months?
I mean, the thing that really gets me is that Joyce isn't always wrong. Like, she was like, I don't like Angel. I think that's going to end poorly. And it did. And everyone was like, and then she was like, you know, I mean, she makes these calls, and I think it's similar to Dawn too, where it's a thankless role to be like in the home with the Slayer that's getting burned down half the time. Like, it is I like Joyce a lot, but it's tough, but it also helps to set us up for later, and so we move what we have to move to get things in place.
Fair, yes. Then we cut back to Buffy. And Lily is there being like, she can't find Ricky. He's missing. She knows. And I like this scene because I like that Lily is kind of just like, but I know you know how to do this. And Buffy's like, all right, fine. Like, she like resists a little bit, but then they're at the blood bank talking to the doctor.
Right in front of the giant AIDS poster.
Yes.
Whoever wrote this episode and like was like adding in these details, I have to say, what an icon. Like, gay people on the left, keep going. We're almost there, guys. So good.
Set decorators like, I've had this AIDS poster for 2 seasons.
I've been ready to raise awareness at a moment's notice. I'm wearing my Sunnydale Blood Drive t-shirt right now, actually.
Oh, really?
Coincidentally.
So yeah, they talk to the one doctor who, very calmly tells them Ricky's not there and then looks worried after they leave. They split up. Buffy finds... I also didn't remember the detail of when she found Ricky. In my head, he like died of old age. Like, he was like an elder skeleton. But he did not. He drank bleach, right? That's like, Jesus
Which,
Christ.
I mean... Yeah, after what he went through.
Yeah, I mean,
that shit.
Plus, that's how you get rid of the worms from COVID. That's what Facebook told me.
Right, yeah. Also, the tattoo was still fresh, though, right? Like, I mean, wasn't it still pretty bright?
I mean, I guess they're painting that on their arms. That's not, they're not able to, like, age it.
Well, he wasn't in the sun.
Oh, that's true. That is true, yeah.
And then Buffy finds Lily, and I like this scene. I mean, Lily's grieving, right? So she lashes out, and Buffy lashes out right back and is like, I didn't ask this. You like came to me. What are you talking about?
Yeah, because she says to her, like, why is this happening? And then, the last time she saw something weird like this, but it's like, Buffy didn't put you in a vampire cult either. She came to save you, and then you came to ask her to do the same thing. You can't turn around and then be like, you're always here when bad things happen. Bitch. Yeah, by your command. What are you talking about? But I get it a little bit. And I also think, I don't know if they're playing her as like abused or maybe neurodivergent or something, but she clearly doesn't have coping skills.
Yeah.
And I think Buffy is frustrated with that because Buffy's made of coping skills. And it takes Buffy a second to be like, oh, you literally can't do any of, like, you don't need, it's like riding a bike. It seems pretty easy when you know how to do it, but like, I think, and I think it's a similar dynamic with Willow, and it is a repeating thing with Buffy where she's ready to take in strays, you know?
Ryan, I almost cried because that's so true. Like, Buffy's made of coping. Like, she has to, right? Like,
yeah.
Every other day she's like killing something or something's trying to kill her.
100%. We're out here.
So wait, this reminds me, earlier when you all were like, oh, they've been through so much, because now I'm like, oh, my girl, she's been through so much. I gotta give a shout out to Clara on Instagram. It's at Clara JBSC, did the coolest fucking video where it's 1 second from every single episode of Buffy while Baba O'Reilly plays in the background. Yeah. And it makes, it's so good. And it's the way it's edited is impressive. And I literally had a moment watching it, and it's just 1 second from every episode. Like when there's a lot of sad things, but like the moment when it's like the music's playing and the clip from Hell's Bells is Anya walking down the aisle crying by herself. And I really was just like, my babies have been through so much. Fuck.
And they're all only 22.
Right? Like, Jesus. I have to stop and remind myself that sometimes about the show.
Yeah, because they all age up like 10 years, spiritually between 4 and 5.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of my favorite scenes is when Buffy is Columboing about.
Yes,
in the blood drive, when it's like the way that she just no bullshit Buffy of just, she didn't even turn around. She's like, what is God, what is it? What is the word?
Candidate
confirmed?
For what? Yeah.
What does candidate mean? Blah blah blah. Yeah, what does candidate mean? I just love that. I love how she just like, it's just so direct, and she's just like, oh God, I don't want to deal with this. I love that.
I love it.
Over at Buffy is one of my favorite Buffys, because like, this episode does something, and I do love season 6, but it does something that season 6 never quite got to, where it's like, yeah, I'm depressed, but fuck you. Like, you're annoying. I'm dealing with my depression, but you aren't bothering me. Right?
Impatience makes a lot of sense for her character, which is interesting, because if you were to stereotype them, I would say Faith would constantly be impatient with people and Buffy would have infinite patience because she's the good person or whatever.
Yeah.
But in actuality, being a good person, and I'm trying my best over here, leads to incredible amounts of impatience, because it's like, I get it, you're evil, like, come on, like, just get, you know what I mean? And I think
it has already. Yeah.
Yeah, it has something to do with the what is it? The mundanity, the mundaneness of evil. And Faith is never impatient because she is the evil. Sometimes. She's in prison, like biding her time very patiently, and Buffy can't get through a blood drive. I think it works really well, and it also starts to show us the shift in her character, where she's like, I have to do what I have to do, which is a very defining Buffy. Like, it's a tent pole of her being risen back up within her, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's like what this episode does so perfectly in like a short amount of time, that like when I think about the episode, and I don't mean this in a negative way, I think of it as longer, because I think like, oh, Buffy's depressed for longer. Oh, Buffy's stuck in that hell dimension for longer, but she's not. She's getting shit done. And, you know, to your point, Brett, not only is the like, what are you doing? Breaking into your office, going through your private files, so fucking good. But then I'm calling the police, and her just ripping the phone off the phone wall
without even looking. She's like, oh. Well, it's also so like, you know, X Factor 87, the therapy issue where Peter David establishes that Quicksilver is an asshole because he's a super speedster.
Yes.
And literally he's like, imagine if your entire life is waiting behind someone at the bank who just brought in a bunch of pennies. That is why I am angry all the time. And you can kind of see like, Buffy doesn't, you are nothing. I'm ripping this phone off the wall. We're going to skip this entire debate. Just tell me what I need. Like, I love that.
Brett, wait, that's so funny. Have I ever referenced the Quicksilver miniseries from like the mid 90s when he had the gray and white outfit? They have a specific like issue about that. And I reference that all the time because I say that's how I feel with my ADD, where it's like they're all, he's like married. It's when he's married to Crystal and they have their child, Luna, and they're at dinner with the Inhumans. And he finishes and he like runs around the world, does some errands, comes back, and they're still like, still just starting their food. And yeah, I reference that a lot.
Oh, and it's like, that is kind of like Buffy's like central, I don't know, not character flaw, but just the fact that she is the chosen one.
Yeah.
And no matter how big a badass Willow and everyone else becomes, no one else is the chosen one. And that is great, but that also fucking sucks. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
And then she gives her tea cozy when she's like, I don't know what tea cozy is, but I want one. I love. And like, she really is. This almost is like, I mean, to bring back to season 5, this is how Glory feels about Buffy, right?
Yeah.
Like, just give me the fucking key.
Superpowers, cool. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
Give me my key. God.
Oh, those books are cute. I'm throwing you across the room now.
If I wanted you dead, you'd be dead by now. We're here to have a conversation.
So then we go back to Sunnydale. We see the Scoobies are on patrol. I really like the shot of Willow's like, face while Cordy and Xander argue.
Yeah.
Like her being like, and I know we cut, but I'll just wrap up that. So I do like that Cordy and Xander accidentally killed a vampire.
I did like they make a little vampire sandwich, and then when he dusts, she falls onto him, and they start making out, and the music swells.
So
It was really good.
I would love to know how she also did not get impaled on a stake.
It's not that big. It's like a little thing. It's like a pin.
What do you mean? Her torso is a magnet for him being impaled. So.
That's true.
How does she avoid
Upper
it?
body strength, tie bow. This was the era.
Well, she's a cheerleader. Like, she's strong.
True.
Yeah, she's got
Was
those
she a
abs.
flyer? Like, what was her role in cheerleading?
Bitch.
Yeah, that's it.
Whatever the role is that leaves you with knee marks all over your back.
Oh, right, she does.
I know some of those roles.
Ryan and I also have those roles, but we're not cheerleaders. So then we get to Buffy going under. I don't even remember. Like, I was like, wait, where did she go? Because she's like, oh, I suck at undercover, and then she's just like, because
Moleface guy gave her the flyer earlier of basically just like, come find Jesus or whatever. It was very
Moleface.
that's his beauty mark. Sorry.
You know what I did think about him though? The mole is difficult. That's fair. But it's because they really highlight it, because they try to make him creepy. Because I do think this actor, if you gave him a different haircut and you framed it a little differently, could star as like the anti-hero in like a TNT 2-season drama about a detective who can smell really well or something.
Yeah.
I was like, he could be hot. They're just contextualizing him as a total creep and not letting him blink. It's like giving youth pastor like Uncanny Valley person.
Which that is the vibe. He's going around to all these unhoused people and being like, come.
Yeah.
It's so, but I'm a cheerleader. Like, it's like soulless. I don't know. But he's great. He's really effective. I think he's another example of the casting department just like nailing it. Yeah. So great job, guy, wherever you are.
So then, she gets to Ken as Lily is sucked into the hell dimension portal.
The black goo from X-Files.
Yeah.
Also, she's an ex-cult member who is like, okay, so it's just a quick baptism and I have to change my clothes and get into this room to talk to my boyfriend again? All right.
It's like wearing this sack.
She's wearing a burlap sack, yeah.
Yeah.
What's tough is that as someone who hosts a podcast about cults and scams and MLMs and gurus, that's true. People do that. They condition you to be like, all right, fine. Yeah. Okay. And you'll see in some of these documentaries, these people have been through Scientology and then Nexium and you kind of cycle through it.
UCB and
no, well, I mean, that's a whole episode in and of itself. Tune into my podcast, Too Good to Be True, season 3 of the Financial Diet. But I will say this character, her journey in 3, maybe 4 episodes that she appears in this show, my God, they nailed it. I know this woman, and her name is Anne. Oh, but we'll get there. Sorry.
So they fall into this hell dimension. Ken even says it is hell.
I think you mentioned earlier, like, I also thought, okay, so now then she gets put to work and we're going to see but it's like, no. Like, they immediately like line her up with the other new recruits. Well, recruits.
Right.
And then shit's on.
Yeah.
I
So-
always thought we spent more time in this factory, but of
Yes.
course they can't justify that because why would Buffy go along with some
Right.
factory cattle prod stuff?
no matter how depressed she is.
Yeah, I feel like we got more of it, but then, well, again, I'm getting ahead of myself, but when we get to the fight scene stuff, you do get to see a lot of world building within this space,
Yes.
which is so wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful.
And the weird thing is that and I mean, Nick, you know more Angel trivia than I do, so I'm sure you know. Do you know what I'm going to say, Nick?
The time?
No, the demons.
Oh, they're like the Scourge.
Yeah. They like reuse right, Nick? It's like completely the same.
Yeah, I feel like I read something at one point that was that it is supposed to be the same.
Oh, good. Yeah, because these are great character designs.
Yes.
Like just the one guy that is like, "What's your name?" Or you're like, that's a great character design. As soon as he shows up, it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, because Mole-Face Guy's face is also fallen off at this point.
Right. I forgot to mention that. And I do like when he's like, you know how long it took me to get this on?
Girl, eyelashes are a nightmare. So I can't imagine what a face is.
What a great meme for drag. God damn it, you've beat me to another genius scheme, Brett.
And he chose the face with the mole of all faces to choose.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, you want that little imperfection so it's more believable.
What sells it. That's what, listen, when you want to cover up a zit, you turn it into a beauty mark, baby. You turn that into an acceptable flaw.
That's a good idea, Ryan.
Yeah, I know. I went through high school too.
And so then we get, we see that the people that had been mumbling "I am no one" on the street actually were victims of this. I don't even know what we would call it, right? Demon hell dimension cult thingy.
Yeah, they're making double meat patties.
Yeah.
It's a good scheme. Listen, I'm not here to tell you capitalism wasn't clever. I'm here to tell you it's wrong. We get in there. I'm not going to do the whole thing now, but we get in there and it is very clearly like, oh, young people don't know what to do with their lives because everything's hopeless and there's nowhere to turn. I guess you could toil away in a factory for the rest of your life and it's something. And they really sell that really fast and well.
Yes.
And I think the scheme works well to be like, that's how they're sucking the life out of them. Literally, painfully, like every moment of their lives is being sucked out in an alternate
spit them
time.
out as 70-year-olds who just want to drink bleach and die.
I mean...
Yeah.
I mean,
sometimes
is
you're
Jeff
40.
Bezos in the room with us right now?
It also is it's so efficiently done because it's just like the scariest demon we've seen. Like it's just horrifying looking. He's got he's missing skin, but then he's also wearing skin.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a skinhead. They're very clearly fascist.
Oh my, yes.
Allegories, and fascism and capitalism, not the same thing, but good friends.
Yeah. And he's like, "What's your name?" And then the guy says his name, and he gets like just smited immediately. And then it's like, "What's your name?" "No one." And then it's immediately to Buffy. Like they are not like really dilly-dallying around. It's a real like economy of time. And the Buffy moment is,
"Who are you?" "I'm Buffy, the Vampire Slayer." "And you are?" Which is just like,
it's my favorite trope. It is my favorite trope in this genre of, I love any story where it is, they don't fucking know what they just bit off.
Yes.
Like, it's you guys, I mean, it's Captain America going up against Thanos, like it's like this is the Avengers Infinity War when it is just fucking Captain America, Falcon, and Black Widow versus goddamn Corvus Glaive and Proxima Midnight. And it's like, these are fucking like 8 foot tall alien, like muscle bound monsters. And they're being beat up by Captain America and just like his human pals. I fucking love that shit. And the fact that like it's just like, you guys don't know who the fucking Slayer is? Oh, you're about to find out, motherfuckers.
Yes.
It's every Squirrel Girl turnaround. It's like, bitch.
She's unbeatable. It's in the name.
Yeah, and then she immediately is like, "Anyone who's not having fun here, follow me." And
so good.
I've started a union before too, and it's a phenomenal feeling. I'll do it again. Hint, 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 bitch.
So my notes, I just want to read what my notes say. I already told everyone, but I say, "Then Buffy kicks every fucking inch of these dickheads' ass, and I love it." And this is where I let Ryan speak.
So we launch into a factory where people are being exploited and having their lives stolen from them. And Buffy realizes that she is an individual, but that everyone there is an individual and that together they are more powerful than their overlords. So she grabs a hammer and a sickle and she backflips and destroys them, absolutely destroys them, in a similar way to how the Soviet Union actually defeated the Nazis and not America. And if you go to any developed nations' historical sites and you look at how they analyze this outside of America, that's the story you'll be told, because that is what happened. And to watch Buffy do it, and to do it on network TV, and to hold up those symbols when they were so demonized and there was so much like nasty misinformation out, and frankly, like, of course the Soviet Union was deeply flawed. I'm not here to do apologia for, like, you know, the CPT or the CCP. Sorry, for a moment I was like, I'm not here to do apologia for the CCP, but I am here to tell you that the instinct for workers to band together and overthrow the people destroying their lives for a profit is not the evil part of the Soviet Union. And it is really great to see Buffy stand up for those values, and especially doing this episode right after the WGA strike. As someone that has been involved in multiple unions forming, it is one of the most important things you learn in adulthood. And one of the most important things you learn when you get a real job. And this was Buffy really having a job for the first time and being on her own and having to eat SpaghettiOs in her shitty apartment. Right. And it's a good reminder that, like, you know, none of us are living like this because there's no other option. There, you know, like it's not because we don't have more wealth than we ever did and we don't have the ability to do all this stuff. And it's not that there isn't enough manpower. It's that it's being like exploited and used against all of us. So I think it's a great message. And I do think that Buffy is a very strong leftist show until you get to some of the more bushy moments in season 7, which turns around, but still, I think it's a very lefty show. And I think this is a great example of that. And I think the writers did a really good job of showing the like most important parts of leftist ideology and of like Marxism, and telling the story in a really concise way without overcomplicating it, and also without even trying to, they don't even try to sell us an alternative, right? Like there's no case to be made for the demons and what they're doing, because in reality, there is no case to be made for Amazon's exploitation. I don't care who you are. You can be a Republican listening to this. I doubt you are. But if you are, nobody can justify what happens to the people that work in those factories. You should be allowed to go to the bathroom, and that we are every day getting closer and closer to those demon-like conditions. And frankly, some children in the Midwest have been working in meatpacking facilities legally in conditions just like that, just as dangerous. An important moment for awareness, and important that Buffy aligned herself with such a movement, and also important that her friends aren't there with her, that she's entirely alone. It's so epic. It's my favorite moment on the show. This is my favorite episode of the show. And I loved it before I understood like socialism. And when I did understand socialism, I'm not joking. I waited for the podcast to say this. It was my first reaction was, oh, like that Buffy episode.
Ryan, I love that.
That's how I knew the hammer and sickle.
Ryan, that makes me so happy.
That's why I had to do this one, and I begged Ian if I could do this one, not just because I've devoted my entire life to unionizing efforts and drag, but because this was a pivotal moment for me, and I think it was for probably a lot of people. So hats off to the whole team, and Sarah Michelle Gellar is cool as hell. That's it. That's my speech.
Well, and what I really love is like Buffy takes out all of the grunts, like spectacularly, like Marvel movie level fight scenes that are done on the WB at 7:00 Central. I'm like,
no other show did this. No other show has done this.
But who takes down Moleface McScab Demon is Lily, who he's like making his big speech, as she just like pushes him over the edge, and it's
because
like,
that's all it takes. The Emperor has no clothes. Like, your boss is not more capable or smarter. I've been people's boss. We're just as dumb as you. Like, it's so good. Oh.
It's funny, like, and this, like you said, Ryan, I'm sure not many conservatives, if any, listen to this show, but every once in a while, and not often, I think maybe I could count on one hand how many times it's happened, I will have someone be like, why do you make Buffy political? And it's like, are you fucking stupid? Like,
have you ever watched the show?
Also just like life.
Yeah. Like,
political.
Name a thing that isn't political. I dare you. I'll wait.
And a lot of it's political because conservatives make it political.
100%.
I just want to be a homosexual.
If the only way to get, I'm going to do it again. If the only way to get food or water or medicine or a place to sleep is based on a fake political construction that you do not get the choice to opt out of at all, and you don't get to pick the one you're born into. It's not my fault that there is just no going to buy milk at the corner, because you don't know where that milk comes from, and it's my job to fucking tell you, because it's not good for you or for the cows or for anybody. It's not good for the bosses, frankly. Right. I mean, they don't even get into that side of it in this episode, but like this arrangement probably doesn't work for most of those demons if they're not at the top either.
That's
like
true,
it's I don't know. And the fact that the crew and the writers and all of the actors on that show understand unions because they live it day to day. And the fact that I know that Sarah Michelle Gellar was blackballed in her industry for standing up for that crew and having, I'm not going to name names because they're unpleasant names to name, but having people who espouse leftist social ideas push back on the idea that the crew needs breaks, that a girl who's doing 20-hour shoots through the night with fight choreography and musical numbers and lines to remember and outfit changes, and it has to be the sexiest woman on TV.
Gorgeous
at the same
hair.
time. Yeah. Like the hair care maintenance alone, do you know how long it takes to keep my short hair pink? Unreal. So the fact that so much care was put into this episode is it probably was a labor of love.
I applaud. Good job. Great. And it's funny because I do think of like a lot of the people that have been on the show, and it probably was like, I mean, I'm sure it's because she's a great actor and good at her job, but like also like I'm doing these 20-hour shoots. Everyone, James Marsters, Claire Kramer, Sarah Michelle Gellar never messed up a scene. Like she always had her lines.
Hell
and
yeah.
Like both of them have said on this podcast that like Sarah Michelle Gellar made you want to be a better actor because she knew she would learn her lines in like 2 seconds and not miss a beat. Like she would get it right
because when it's work
shot.
you love, you will love to do it. But when you're forced to do some shit, it turns sour, and bosses should understand that. God damn.
And now I'm going to give a little speech because I feel like I've worked with so many people that were like the cool punk person and then got promoted, and then suddenly they like fully turned into that like shitty corporate shill.
Yeah,
Dancing with the Stars all of a sudden.
And frankly, for someone who has so much, for someone who has accrued so much power, you'd think you'd have to show off a little more talent in a meritocracy. But I'll shut up. I'll shut up about the tango skills.
I remember at one of my retail jobs, someone who we both were promoted to like supervisor, and I'm a very lax professor, I'm a very lax boss, because I know that like this sucks, right? I know like, I mean less so college, but these kids are going to be in debt forever. So I try to go easy on people as you can. And I remember this one boss who was like the cool tattooed like queer woman that we were friends was like, you have to stop letting people take these longer breaks, and you're encouraging them. And I turned to her and went, you're not my boss, so I don't care. And I walked away, and we like never spoke again at work because she was so mad at how rude I was. But
get over it.
Like, fuck you. Like, what does it benefit you to monitor everyone like that? And I feel like that is so common. That's like a weird aspect that I don't hear people like, Ryan, this will make you want your blood boil. I worked with someone who like very much would say that she was a socialist and then like be like, numbers are down, you guys aren't working. And it's like,
what gets me is that like, I think some people think work is supposed to be unpleasant or breakneck all the time. And I thought this for a really long time. I thought if I wasn't uncomfortable, I wasn't working hard enough, and that I would be found out, that, like there's this paranoia that comes.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that produces good results. I think it makes people paranoid and anxious and skittish and exhausted and burned out. And I think it's a really short-sighted way of functioning. And
ding, ding, ding.
And I when you want to do real things like save the world, you don't get the luxury of being short-sighted ever.
Yeah. I mean, anyway, getting back to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Ken does have a good line that reminded me of Ghostface when he's like, "You've got guts. I think I'd like to slice you open and play with."
So good. I want to clip that out and be like Taylor Swift to Olivia Rodrigo.
And then I do like that Lily is the one to kill him. Like, I feel like that's also an important beat that, like, Buffy absolutely could have taken him, right? Like at that point, we know that
she ultimately does. But,
right.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like
Gandhi impression.
So yeah, I wanted to. I don't know. There's not often many things that like gross me out on Buffy, but the like her lifting that sharp gate and then the gate points getting stuck in his calves. I don't know what it is about that, but I'm like, bleh. Right?
Yeah, it is. Although I will say Buffy like slips through the bars while it's falling down, and it's like, well, could you have just done that without lifting it?
Right.
She could have, yes.
Yeah. But also, I thought you were going to say what grossed you out was the mention of Gandhi, because this was back when we thought Gandhi was a cool guy. And that joke doesn't work as well now. But
it's a very weird. I feel like the like line from this joke only works because Sarah Michelle Gellar, it's like nonsense, right?
Oh, God.
You know what I'm going to say, Brad?
This is a precursor to what happens to a toe when it's struck by lightning. Same thing as anything. Oh, my God. That just hit
That'll
me.
put some marzipan in your pie plate, bingo.
This is around the same time because he probably wrote that in 99.
Yep.
Oh, my God.
Brett, I love that we have the same fucking nerd brain and you knew exactly where I was going with that.
It just hit me. Because I was thinking this sounds like a parody of a Joss Whedon line.
Yeah, it does.
And like, again, if it wasn't Sam Shaw, I think
it sounds like what an Arrowverse riff on.
Yeah, somewhere in the world, Veronica Mars is cringing. I will say, I
love Legends of Tomorrow. It was crazy. Barack Obama fought a giant, telepathic ape in that show.
And in real life, but we're only hearing about it now in those congressional hearings about UFOs. I will say also, I like that the ending we get so much ridiculous, over the top, almost parody level Buffy quipping, because she's really back, girl.
Yes,
you should bring it on, big boy, or whatever.
I was about to say that's why for me it does work a little bit, even though it's ridiculous, is because it's like, oh, she's fucking back. She's like, she's ready to be shitty while she's killing these demons.
And she's maybe a little rusty. But with an assist from Lily, she nails it.
Whomst among us has not been a little rusty at performing when you're back? Nick, what do you think about all this ending?
Well, we get the iconic shot that they use at the end of the opening credits for several seasons. So I'm obsessed with that. And again,
it's
going
the
back
last time that shot is actually Buffy, which always freaked me out.
Oh my God, that's right, because it turns into the first.
It's the Buffy bot. They use the Buffy bot shot from The Gift, and then it goes into the shot from of the first.
Oh, wow.
So that's really weird to me. That always weirded me out.
That is weird. Huh.
That is weird.
I never clocked that.
Okay, well, now we have to do another episode.
What does it mean?
So Buffy gives Lily her apartment and her fake not made up name, it's her middle name, but it gives her, she takes on her moniker, right? And
she takes Anne.
There's just, I don't know, it's just so nice. I really like that this character is in the Angel fucking series finale, and she's doing great. And the thing is, it's like this episode shaped her, and she is helping everyone. She is helping people.
Buffy shaped her. Buffy made Anne in many ways, and this girl stepped up to the plate to do it, and it is incredible. It's like it is, and again, I'm not going to do another one, but it is the message of unions and leftism and stuff, is that it's to be inspired to go do some sort of progressive change, to be inspired to lift up other people because you're pro-social, not anti-social, and not under your own name. You know, there's a thing in Judaism about levels of good deeds, and it's like whether you get credit, whether the credit is from the person or from someone else who knows, or whether you know who you're helping. And the highest form of a good deed is you don't know who you're helping and they don't know that you helped them. And I think by taking on another name, she's not saying to the world, I'm this person who has this past. And we get a lot of allusions to she's never had a home and stuff. And instead of even a creation of her own, she's like, yeah, I will pick up where you were and I will do better with it. And I will do work like you do. And she can't fight like Buffy does. And she's certainly, she's got some glaring issues. But when we do see her again, she not only knows how to take care of herself, she knows how to take care of as many of herself as she finds, to the point when she doesn't have the budget for it, she gets the fucking money. She becomes this force for fighting everything that was attacking her. And it is so good. And it is so poetically set up because it was the right call for that character. And it means that later, if they want to revisit her, they can just keep growing with it because it was the right call, because it's true. And that's when Buffy's at its best, is when it's saying something that's so true. Yeah. Parts of high school, parts of growing up, parts of being a force for good in the world, the ugly parts and the beautiful parts. And this is like a beautiful part that only they will know has happened. And it's, I love it. It makes this episode, and it feels fresh every time. Every time this scene feels good.
You know, that's the thing I was going to say. Like, I mean, you know, I feel like all of us are always saying good things about Buffy because duh, but like, this is an episode that does still feel like the writing feels fresh. And like, if this were an episode of TV right now, I mean, aside from like updating like cars and them having cell phones, like it would be pretty like 1 for 1, right?
Our president is now walking a picket line with the auto unions, and I have to say, like, these themes are more important than ever. But frankly, we're pretty easy to overlook in the heyday of the 90s economy.
Yes.
And they did not need to make an episode about like this, especially because they're all in unions. And I know from having been unionized, it's easy to start taking it for granted.
Yeah.
And you can't. It is a continual fight to keep this top of mind. And this episode does a really great job in an era where that was few and far between.
Yeah. And I mean, Ryan, I feel like take out you saying, you know, this episode did it really well in an era that could be placed in a lot of Buffy episodes, right?
It's true. It's true. All the gay episodes.
I was going to say, yeah. Tara eating Willow's pussy while singing about it. Like,
yeah.
The opposite. I don't think that happened
if I got to do it, I'd probably sing a song too.
So then, you know, Buffy leaves and we see her reunite with her mom. It's a nice beat, but then I'm like, oh, right, you're going to be shitty to her next episode in Dead Man's Party.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I guess we are at the end. Before we get to our favorite scene and favorite outfit, I forgot to do my Patreon spiel. Over at the Patreon, we are covering Batman the Animated Series, X-Men the Animated Series, and Harley Quinn. We also have Buffy Out of Context, where it's just different Buffy episodes that are either random watch-alongs or just discussions of a Buffy episode. And over there, you will find all the rest of our Season 3 coverage. There will be shorter, edited versions going out on our podcast feed after the anniversary, but all of the longer episodes, the rest of them, will be going on Patreon. So if you want to hear those full episodes, subscribe and help keep this podcast going. And we have a live show coming up this Halloween. Ryan, do you want to tell everyone what you're going to be?
Oh my God. So I made a point. I mean, I didn't bring it up, but there was some discussion of Anya's beautiful emotional journey through the course of this show. And I made a point of mentioning Olivia Rodrigo a few times to Josie and the Pussycat style incept you into coming to the all Anya, all Josie and the all Anya, all Olivia Rodrigo spectacular for our remixed, remastered, rethought, reimagined, choose your own adventure version of Fear Itself at Stonewall, the birthplace of gay rights. And if that sounds like a lot of things going on, you're right. It is. And it's going to be awesome. And you are not prepared for the costumes that I have arriving next week to my home. You are not ready. If you go look at last year's and you think that Darla was fun and very messy, you're right. But you ain't seen nothing yet, okay? So come and get it, big boy. Come to the Stonewall Inn, October 29th. What time is it at 2?
2. Yeah, doors open at 2.
I nailed it. Doors open at 2, and there will be a sexy initiative member literally at the door being a bouncer. Yes. We're planning for it, at least, at some point I may just have to get on models.com or whatever and fly something in, but it'll be fine. We've got the initiative there, and you're going to see some amazing stuff. And the episode Fear Itself is a classic, and we have some hilarious people reading it, but it is filled with new material that you will decide the progression of the show. So if you'd like to see how that works out, come on down and see the all-American Anya Jenkins.
Yay. Yes. And Ryan sent me but the wild thing is Ryan and I talked about this, and I feel like not an hour later, you're like, oh, look at all the costumes I got. Like you found that shit in a second.
I have like a true sixth sense for Halloween costumes, and also remember everything that Emma Caulfield has ever worn. So
favorite scene, Nicholas?
Oh gosh. I think honestly my favorite scene is the last scene with Buffy and Lily, because it rings true to me a lot. That what Lily is experiencing towards the end of being unsure of how to take care of herself on her own without people around her, while still being inspired by somebody like Buffy, is something that I recently have had to deal with, moving across the country and being on my own in a completely new place without anybody I know. So I love the fact that I am now in my 30s. I have been watching the show since the day it came out, and I am still relating to it and still being inspired by it. So that scene is very important to me.
I mean, that's why we're here, right? Because like we all still love the show, even though it's been 25 fucking years.
More in different ways.
True. Yeah. Brett, favorite scene?
I mean, I'll call it. It's, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I mean, this is like I honestly think about that scene all the time.
Right? I do think about that a lot. Still, like I feel like I say that often, but I do think like it's such a good fuck yeah moment.
Yeah, it's one of the greatest y'all done fucked up moments ever. I mean,
Ryan?
It's Buffy holding the hammer and sickle. I never thought, that at the time that I saw it, it was kind of surprising and interesting to me. And when I look back, I would have never thought you would have gotten that on TV or like in this show. And so while there's other more well-written or poignant moments, this is my favorite moment of Buffy, period. And it's the photo I use every time I reference Buffy in like a meme or something, because I want to remind people. Again, Josie and the Pussycat style brainwashing on my part. Propaganda, truly.
So me, it's a tie between I'm Buffy the Vampire Slayer and you are, and her, that whole scene where she's breaking into your office and going through your private files and then ripping the phone off the wall. Because like, so good. There aren't a lot this episode, but favorite outfit, Ryan?
I'm not going to say the potato bag sack or whatever. When Cordelia comes to the Bronze for Cry Night, what a slay. Oh my God, that woman, Charisma Carpenter, just wear clothes, please, all the time. Oh my God, so good. So good. What a look.
Brett?
I mean, anything Giles is wearing. That's in terms of like what I would wear. Yeah,
Brett, I love when I have you on because you always you bring the like suit appreciation.
Yeah, Giles is timeless.
Yeah. Nick?
I was a big fan of Willow's look when we first see her in the library right after the opening credits, and she's got like the little bucket hat on, and it's just like different shades of purple. I'm obsessed with it.
And I really like Oz. The outfit Oz is wearing in the opening is like something I would have wanted to pull off back then, but would have felt too self-conscious because he looks like very
you could pull it off.
I mean, now I could, but back then I would have been like, oh no, I'm not cool enough. But he's like, looks very like dude in a band that Ian would crush on for the rest of his life, which he does. What grade do we give this episode, Nick?
This is an A+ for me.
Brett?
I mean, I would probably say B+, only because I know the spectrum of Buffy episodes, and so even something like this, I'm like,
that does sometimes make it harder, right?
Yeah, because it's just like, it's no pangs. I fucking love pangs. God damn it,
Ryan.
Well, when it comes to spectrums, I'm on one, and I will say I have a special interest for communism, and this is an A++++, off the charts. My favorite episode. Hell yeah, let's do it again next week. I'll be here.
Yeah, I give it an A+. I mean, I do have trouble because Brett, you're right. It's like sometimes when I grade these episodes, I'm like, I love this one, but I do love these two more. What can I give above an A+? But like, the bar's high.
SSS tier or whatever people on YouTube end up doing.
All right. Well, thank you all for doing this. I'm really excited to kick off our 25th anniversary coverage of Buffy season 3, which in the Discord, I think it was Amanda had asked me, was like, I wouldn't be mad if you did every episode. And I was like, well, good news, because I am. Because like, I love this season. I think this season is like nearly perfect. 5 is my favorite, but 3 is a very close second.
Agreed.
And
Agreed.
3, I feel like 3 has no skips. There's no episode where I'm like,
nope.
Right? Like,
they're all good.
Yeah. And I feel like this is, clearly when the show got a bigger budget, right? It's
also when the show got its logo. Isn't it just like, it was that weird, like, almost like sketchy Buffy for the first 2 seasons.
I always forget that.
Off-brand Tracy Martell Buffy.
Yes.
Kirkland's own Slayer.
But if you like us, you can subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, and you can find us on YouTube. Feel free to give us a good rating and subscribe to us. And if you want to follow us on social, we are on all social media platforms at SlayerFestX98. If you want to follow me, I'm at ENX Carlos. Ryan, where can everyone find you and your things?
I'm on Instagram at Ryan Houlihan. I post like it's a Tumblr page. And then you can find me on YouTube, youtube.com/@Ryho, RYHO, where I do videos about pop culture and femininity and politics. And obviously, I'm a communist. So please come. The last one was about Barbie, and the next one is about why it's really good to pirate your favorite movies and TV shows. Good for you and good for the world.
Ryan, I was like just about to say, don't forget to mention the Barbie one because I love that one.
Thank you. Yeah, the next episode, everyone was like, are you going to dress up as a lady pirate? No, I'm dressing as Catwoman because that's how it's fun to steal things.
So you can be hot while you're stealing things.
Yes.
Yes.
Brett, where can everyone find you when you're writing?
You can find me on Instagram at Brett White. And I don't want to... No, you know what? Don't find me on Twitter or whatever the hell they're calling. I don't want to play that game. You can follow my drag exploits at Barb Hardley on Instagram and YouTube, and also my podcast Must Have Seen TV that I host as Barb Hardley when I have 3 hours to prepare.
Ain't that the way?
And Nick, where can everyone find you and your channel?
You can find my YouTube channel. It is Nicksaysboo. You could also find me on Instagram and Twitter /X or whatever it's called now. Also at Nicksaysboo, and on Patreon at Nicksaysboo.
You have...
and also on the Horror Hour. I keep forgetting that I'm a co-host on that.
Right, Nick is cheating on me. He's a co-host there as well. Nick,
it's 2023. We're open.
Oh, fine. True, we do share Chris Evans.
Ethically non-monogamous podcasting.
That's right.
Yeah, Nick, you have the best, most consistent branding, and I'm always very impressed that you have Nicksaysboo everywhere. Like,
I don't even know where I came up with that, but thank you.
Because I literally... It's Slayerfest X98 just because Slayerfest 98 was taken on all social media platforms. That's why our handle has the X. But yeah, thank you all for joining me, and I'm looking forward to covering this season again. We'll talk to you later. Bye.